Picture this. Pokemon, but with guns. That's genius! If you're like me, you might have become slightly bored of the same old Pokemon formula that GameFreak has used for the past few years. I've been craving that invigorating, engaging gameplay that I haven't really felt since playing through Pokemon Black and White. But we might be in for quite the treat. On the 19th of January 2024, a brand new game will be released that might just quench that lingering Pokemon thirst. That game is Palworld. In this game, you can peacefully live alongside mysterious creatures known as pals, or risk your life to drive off a ruthless poaching syndicate. Pals can be used to fight, or they can be made to work on farms or factories. You can even sell them or eat them. From that little bit of text, you may not think this is anything like a Pokemon game. And well, all I can say to that is, yeah, you're probably right. But don't rush to conclusions just yet. From what we've seen so far in the trailers for Palworld, we mostly know what to expect. The game seems to be set in an open world and is played in a third-person point of view, somewhat similar to that of Pokemon Legends Arceus. Your character can use their pals in combat or can vouch to use a selection of guns. Yes, guns. The trailers show the main character, you, traversing in wild grassy terrains, mountainous areas, volcanoes, etc. Whilst exploring, you can capture different types of pals with all sorts of power ranges. Much like Pokemon, you can capture these pals, lowering their HP and throwing what seems to be some form of spherical capture device. Where have I seen this before? To lower a pal's HP, you can engage in two forms of combat. One with the pals you currently have on your team, and or using your own firearms. This concept is quite obviously heavily influenced by Pokemon, but the unique selling point is literally guns. This is like an American's wet dream, right? On a serious note, the graphics look incredible. The trailers really do showcase how much time and effort has gone into this game. A lot of eager fans of Palworld have been watching the development of this game for the past 2 years. I myself have only recently been made aware of this game around a year ago, and it's safe to say the hype is indeed present. The slick movement with the slight motion blur, the vibrant colours, the unique PAL designs, the character customization, all of this looks like it really could add up to be something incredible. From the videos and images I've shown you so far, and from some you may have already seen online, there is a very obvious elephant in the room. Some of these pals look like straight up rip-offs of Pokemon. I mean, look at this thing. You're telling me this doesn't look like a Leafeon with a stone in its forehead? Or this thing? Try to convince me that this isn't just a Staraptor with a nice haircut. I mean guys, this isn't just Pokemon, that is Bowser. Jokes aside, it's clear that Pokemon may have had an influence on this game, but I kind of want to divert away from comparing the two, and I'll get more into that later. There seems to be a very large variety of pals you can capture within the wild, with most of them having such cool and unique designs. Each pal has its own element, and some even have dual elements, such as Dinossum here. These elements are listed on the screen now and should feel very familiar with fellow Pokemon players. Some of the pals are stronger than the others. These seem to be showcased as a quote-unquote boss battle within the wild. These pals have their own titles, such as Mammorest. Mammorest is known as the king of the forest. These boss pals will obviously be harder to take down / capture within the game than your average pal, so it may make for some good planning and prep before encountering them. Pokemon has a dedicated community for something called Nuzlocking. A Nuzlocke challenge can require a lot of preparation for taking on gym leaders within the games. I feel like these boss pals within Palworld will have the same type of preparation needed. Sprinkle in a bit of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom for gathering bullets / guns, and you're onto a winner. Honestly, seeing how in depth Palworld will go with scavenging for supplies and building bases will be really interesting. I think a lot of people who enjoy Nintendo games over others love that about most of the games. Really gets your brain going and can be truly immersive. Palworld won't be releasing on the Switch unfortunately, but judging by the hype from the Pokemon community for this game, I think it's safe to say a lot of Nintendo fans will be giving this game a go. Now, not a lot is known about the story of Palworld just yet. We know that there is a poaching syndicate who we will obviously have to take down throughout the game. I think the story being kept simple could really benefit the core values and mechanics. In one of the latest trailers, we are shown what seems to be the syndicate leaders. This will obviously be the little boss battles you have to do throughout the game, sort of like the gym leaders in the Pokemon series. I promise I will try to stop comparing the two franchises, but wow, so many similarities. Palworld could very well take the gaming community by storm. We've seen countless different challenge videos on Zelda games, Mario games, Pokemon games. I'm 100% certain that a Palworld challenge run will be such an exciting watch. I mentioned throughout the video the comparisons between Palworld and Pokemon. Now, I don't think it is particularly difficult to see why. Yeah, Palworld is quite clearly inspired by a game like Pokemon, but that doesn't mean that it's a direct copy. There are many obvious differences between the two that can and will set them apart upon Palworld's release. One thing I can say for certain is that Palworld has been developed with a lot of thought and care. Unfortunately, I can't say the same for recent Pokemon games. We all know the faults of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and these are faults that are yet to be fixed even to this day. I do feel like the developers of Palworld will have a much better relationship with their fanbase. If the relationship is nothing like that of GameFreak / the Pokemon companies towards their fans, then we should, and this is a big should, be onto a winner. There are clear distinctions between these two games. Palworld is technically a third-person shooter with a few pocket monsters thrown in, whereas Pokemon's main mechanic is turn-based battles. This will mean that Palworld players will have a much more intense experience overall. Palworld will include farming and base building within the game, something that Pokemon has never really capitalized on. Yes, you could say that the bases in Pokemon, such as the ones in Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald or Oras, are just the same, except they are nowhere near as complex or look to be as fun when comparing them to Palworld. Setting up a farm and gaining materials and resources from it will be a very welcome gaming experience for someone like myself, and hopefully for you too. Lastly, Palworld is definitely going to have a much darker theme. From the text that I read earlier, you can literally eat the pals you capture. I mean, come on. The closest we got to something as dark as this in a Pokemon game was Team Rocket capturing Slowpokes for their tails. We won't talk about some of these Pokedex entries. That's for a different video, so be sure to subscribe for that in the future. For a game that involves guns, it's pretty obvious that the target audience isn't children. Comparing Palworld and Pokemon is going to be something that the developers of Palworld will never get away from. However, this shouldn't matter at all. For us to truly know why Palworld isn't just another Pokemon knockoff, we just have to play it for ourselves. Well, I am super excited to get going on Palworld, and you should definitely be excited too. If you want to see a playthrough or even just a long form video compiling the entire game, let me know down in the comments below. Be sure to also comment whether or not you're excited for Palworld. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.